Okay. Welcome to another episode of Connect and Politic. We're here with a special guest. Please introduce yourself by telling us your name, where you're currently located, and your favorite snack.
Hi, everyone. My name is Olanike Mensah. I am currently located in Charlotte, North Carolina in the U.S. And my favorite snack, I actually don't snack a whole lot. Like I don't buy like chips or candy or anything. I'm not a snacker.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with fried plantain because I've been eating that a lot, like between meals recently. So we can call that my snack.
Yeah.
It's also my favorite food.
So, it is.
It works. Yeah.
So, was this your favorite food as a child?
Absolutely.
And this is like your mom made it, or your grandma, or?
Yeah. Well, everybody made it. And my sisters and my older sister is 5 years older than me, so she really wasn't in the plantain battles. But my little sister and I, she's 3 years younger than me. I was always like, well, I'm the oldest, so I get an extra piece of plantain next to my rice and stew. Like, I'm 3 years older than you, so I should get 3 extra pieces. And we were fighting over individual pieces of fried plantain.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so it was your favorite food as a child, and it still is as an adult.
Yeah.
And when was the last time you had it?
Yesterday. I had it twice yesterday, I'm telling you. And I told my husband to buy some more today when he went out. Could you stop by the grocery store and see if they have any ripe plantain?
Nice. Yeah, no, plantain is a problem. It could definitely be a problem.
So good.
Yeah, it is. Do you use it to make other meals besides fried plantain?
Sometimes I put it in beans.
Okay.
Not very often, but I like it. I like it that way too. But most of the time, it's just fried. Yeah. You can have it boiled too, and grilled. It's really good. It's like a roadside food.
Yep.
In Nigeria. So. Bali. #Bali.
Nice. I know that's a good hashtag. We need to promote. We need to push that. What's your fondest memory from childhood?
Playing. Like I remember a lot of playing. Growing up, and I remember putting on productions for like our parents and their friends. So like we would reenact things, like we would reenact Bible stories because we were in church all the time. So I remember a lot of play and like performance oriented sort of, parents had friends over, or we were over at some, family friend's house, and all the kids would like go play and we'll figure out something to come present, and then would like, hey, parents, look at us. We want to sing for you. I want to do a skit for you. So those are good memories. Yeah.
And this was where was this? Was this here or in Nigeria?
That was in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah. So I spent part of my childhood there and part of it here in the US.
Yeah. What do you miss anything about being a child?
Play. I miss play. That's like, it was a perfect setup right there. I feel like I'm getting some of it back though, because I started playing tennis when I moved to Charlotte 5 years ago. I'd never picked up a racket. I was actually looking to play volleyball because I had played a little bit of casual volleyball in high school. So I was like, I'm going to pick up volleyball. Like, that should be fun. I need to do something more active as I'm getting older in age. So I was trying to find like beginners league volleyball, and the only places I found were too far away from where we lived, but the tennis options were closer. So I was like, I'll do tennis. It's another net game, get the ball over the net, similar concept. That's close enough. I'll do that. And I'm a little obsessed with it now, and it's been months, since we've been able to get outside and play all the leagues. Like I play competitive tennis. I'm on a league team and everything. So I'm enjoying like the play aspect of that. So yeah, I would say that I just miss like
playing. Do you since you did a lot of, you know, theater type things when you were a kid, are you also doing that now as well? Or is that part of the plan in the future?
You know, behind closed doors, you know, I can bust some tunes just a little, little bit in the privacy of my own home. Like I was in choirs and all these sort of, you know, interpretive dance, and I was in a handbell choir for a while. Like I've done a lot in that on the creative side, but I don't do that publicly anymore.
Yeah. No, gotcha.
But I was gonna say one of the many hats, the many side hustles that I have is supporting my sister's side hustle, who's an artist, a performing artist. So I'm her manager.
Oh, nice.
So I help her sort of with the business side of her art.
Yeah. What type of performing art does she do?
If you could imagine, like, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting the artist's name. Solange, like a mix of like Solange and like Miriam Makeba, you know, and like any of the like current female Afrobeat artists, Afropop artists, whatever term people use. All sort of, and you know, soul, just kind of all meshed into one. Mm-hmm. That's her vibe.
Nice. And what's her name?
Her artist name is Lolade, Lolade. Check her out. Take off all the other hats, put on my manager hat. She's available on all music platforms. Check her out.
Nice. You should have had her CD, or is there a website right. People can go to?
Yes, lolademusic.com. She really is on Spotify, Apple Music. I like everything. Just Google her. The latest EP, she has singles out, but the latest EP that she put out is called Neverland. So if you Google Lolade and Neverland, you should be able to find her.
Nice. Yep. I think I should do an interview with her.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. You grew up with both parents, right? Mm-hmm. What are some of the the important lessons you learned from them?
Yeah. I think I learned resilience really, and like an ability to adapt and just be resilient from watching them, not necessarily from like, they taught us a lot of lessons outright, you know, with like their priorities and what their expectations of us were, and over the course of life. But I think going through life with them as parents, right, and just kind of watching how they navigated through life, it's just taught me a lot of resilience, you know, and like being able to adapt to like different countries, different environments, different situations, seeing the things that they went through. Yeah.
Was there anything that surprised you when you transitioned out of your parents' house? Like when you transitioned into adulthood? It could be, you know, when you went to college, or just getting out into the world.
So my family members would say that I've always been like the rebellious one. Like I was the stubborn one. I got the most whoopings in my house because I didn't know how to be quiet and be seen and not heard. I was the kid that was like, but I think so. I got in a lot of trouble for that, and so waiting to leave for college, I had a lot of mouth, right? Like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna party all night and I'm gonna do what I want and da, 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 da. And what surprised me when I got to school and I was able to make these decisions for myself is it was too late. Like the boundaries that they put in place were already so set that I was like, I don't think we should go there. I don't think we should stay out that late. Like I was not lit like I thought I was gonna be lit. I was like, Urgh. So I still did more than probably, I did a lot more than I was allowed to do when I was in high school, a lot more, but still nowhere near the amount of mouth I had about all the crazy things I was gonna do when I got free.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I try to think about that from a parenting perspective because I have
No, I mean the influence that parents have on us is you can't measure it, right? Like it really is, and that's why everyone jokes about when they become a parent, they find themselves repeating the thing that they hated the most that their parents would say to them. Like it's like those things become ingrained in us. It's really is crazy. That's cool. What are your favorite things to do for self-care?
So when I moved to Charlotte, tennis was actually an intentional self-care decision because I had no self-care prior to that. I was just like surviving and going through life. So moving to tennis, I was like, moving to Charlotte, I decided that I needed to do something that was mine, like something that wasn't about my partner or my child or the job. It was just something that I enjoyed and something that I wanted to do. So I got into tennis. There's a program here in Charlotte that teaches anyone from, 5-year-olds all the way up. They taught me literally how to hold my racket. Like they literally put the racket in my hand, and it was great. I mean, I started playing and going to clinics at first, actually not playing 3 times a week. There was one season that I was on 3 different teams. I love it. I miss it so much. And my daughter and I started taking lessons at the same time, which is great because we can play together now, which is fantastic. So that's a self-care thing that's gone away, and there really isn't anything healthy that's taken its place because this should not be self-care. But I've rediscovered bubble baths in the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, man, this is good. Like I turn off the lights, I light a couple candles. Yeah. So that's my newest thing is taking a bubble bath. I set a goal. You shouldn't set, I don't know, maybe you should. I was gonna say that you shouldn't set goals around self-care. Let me put that on my list. Did I take a bubble bath this week? Check. Yeah, I did. That's how my brain works. So I set a goal for myself to take a bubble bath every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, and I've done that for the last month. So
it's good stuff.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Do you take bubble baths?
I do not.
Right.
I know. I should. I've seen the joy that my daughter gets from bubble baths, but it's also she likes the pool.
She likes water.
Yeah. So yeah. But we'll see. I may pick it up.
I'm sure there's some physical health benefits because the water is really hot.
Yeah.
I like it hot, so it's the muscles relax and it's good.
Nice. And what are some things you do for self-growth?
For self-growth, honestly, being married and figuring out marriage life. Definitely, if you allow it to grow you, it will. right? So I happen to be married to someone who challenges me anyway, whether like not even about our relationship, just in general. So we have, you know, intellectual conversations and you know, silly debates or whatever, but there's like a healthy like pushing against each, you know, of our like barriers and perceptions and what we think that allows both of us, I think, to evolve and grow. So there's definitely that aspect. So like engaging in that with him definitely helps me grow, but also I think just the act of being married. One of the podcasts that I think I told you I'm actively recording 3 podcasts. So he and I are recording a podcast.
Nice.
That we started like a year ago, and we haven't, it's actually published, but we haven't promoted it. Because we're like, do we want to keep doing this, or was this just fun for the little 3 episodes? Like,
Yeah, I mean, you could. Does it have a name?
yes, it's Happily Ever Mensah.
Have it. Okay.
So you can see some of that dynamic in the podcast, because yeah, the first one is a little messy, but we were like, it's good, it's messy, let's put it out there. The next 2 have a little bit more structure, but we still kind of just hang out and talk. But yeah, he's good for me, and I hope I'm good for him as a human.
Nice. I always feel like I want you to explore that, you know, that piece about just marriage in itself being a tool for self-growth. What aspects of it is it the, you know, the structure of marriage, or is it the fact that the person that you're partner with,
Yeah,
what is it?
for me, I think it's like when you are doing life with someone and you're committed to doing this crazy thing called life and going through all the ups and downs with someone, they get a front row seat to all your crazy, right? I'm actually trying to take the word crazy out of my vocabulary, but they get a front row seat to all your issues, your dynamic, your, like, as an individual. And then they have their own stuff, and then like you react, right? You interact with one another, you're there present with each other. So there's like actions and reactions and reactions to the reactions. And because you've committed to be in this long-term relationship with someone and you're not going anywhere, you have to figure out all that stuff together. And it requires a certain level of like ability to even sort through the process, the conversations, the emotions, and get to a place where you can start to figure out like, oh, this is my thing that showed up, and here's why this showed up for me, and I reacted this way to something that you did because this is how I feel about it. And I feel like for me that continues to happen. I don't know, you know, I think it seems like, I have this assumption that at some point for older couples, they've figured out all the things and they're just like, oh yeah, that's just him. Like, I just ignore that and move on. I'm like waiting for that moment where I'm like, yeah, you know, it doesn't push my buttons, whatever.
Yeah.
Just another day, you know, it'll be gone tomorrow. But yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, it's good you're doing the podcast on marriage, because you know, from these interviews, actually, a couple folks have asked me to kind of do a few couple related, sessions, to do, you know, kind of like a deep dive into relationship dynamics and those kind of things. So
yeah,
we can definitely talk about it.
that'd be good.
Yeah. How do you reduce distractions?
I don't know how good I am at reducing certain distractions. Sometimes I welcome the distractions, honestly, because I can get really tunnel vision. You know, like I work for myself now, so I'm at home, and I could be in this spot for like 5 hours straight and not get up, not go to the kitchen and get a drink. Like, I'm like, I have to pee and I've been sitting here for 2 hours. Like, I can just go to the bathroom, but I just like, I get in a zone and like nothing else that's happening around me penetrates.
Yeah.
And so working from home during the pandemic and being home with everybody, and my dad was visiting us at the time too, was very hard because I was like, everybody stop talking. So I think for me, I'm trying to train myself to welcome the distraction. And being an entrepreneur now, I can work according to my energy. And I think that's working out really, really well for me. And it allows me to be like, okay, I can make room for this distraction right now. You know, Eddie just walked up and he wants to talk about something. So, I mean, you saw me over here typing and working, but sure, let's talk. You know, like, so like, I feel like I'm practicing welcoming distractions that are about relationship and people that I love, and also about like what's creating the healthier version of me, especially now that I don't have to answer to someone other than myself. So yeah, I don't have too many like unhealthy distractions that I'm trying not to have. So yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. I mean, yeah, I think, you know, constructing your environment in a way that you have healthy distractions is good. You know, I think it's the unhealthy distractions that can be debilitating, to say the least.
Yeah.
Is there something that you're looking forward to that excites you?
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot. So like I'm excited about getting to get outside and play tennis, because tennis is one of those low risk activities in terms of the pandemic that the world is experiencing right now. So I just found tennis courts like a 10-minute walk away from our house. I did not know it was there like this whole time. So like Eddie is not a tennis player, but he's an athlete. So he just uses like table tennis methods and plays tennis with me.
Yeah.
So we've gone and played a couple of times. So I'm really excited about those tennis courts. Like we just were walking one night and saw it, and I was like, oh my God, thank you, God. You'd be looking out for a girl. Like, yes, look at the tennis court right here. I was so hyped. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that because, like I've said like 20 times already in this conversation, I miss it. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the podcast that I mentioned. So like I dabble in a lot of things. So I have the podcast with my husband, podcast with my daughter, which is a mother-daughter like conversation. That's probably going to get promoted a lot sooner than the marriage one. I don't know. We don't know what we're doing. We're just talking and recording it right now.
You're just putting there's a lot of content. You got a lot of content.
We just, you know, we'll figure out how we get it out there eventually.
What's the mother-daughter podcast? What is that called?
Yeah, so that one is called M.A.D. Sips, and it's an acronym, M.A.D, mother and daughter sips. Gotcha. So it's kind of a play on like, she's into this like, what's the tea thing? Because she's a middle schooler, you know, so we always have a drink and we talk about whatever it is that we're drinking while we're talking. So that's that one. And then from a professional angle, I'm recording a podcast series. I don't know if it's going to be just like a mini series, one-time thing, or if we're going to keep doing it. But one of my closest friends and I have conversations a lot about you know, like social justice, racial justice issues and topics, and the different ways that we've experienced that in the workplace setting, and our different ways of like trying to help, you know, kind of push for progress. So we decided to do a podcast that we've been recording for some months now called "So You Want to Be an Ally?" Okay, good. Let's give you some notes on how to be an ally. So that's the third. So I'm excited about all these projects. Mostly, I think I'm excited about this new phase in my life because I've been doing consulting and training and coaching for many years inside organizations. And about 5 years ago, I registered a business and I was going to do it and be my own firm, my own practice. And then I got a job offer and I was like, oh, that salary sounds good. I need that right now. A check every 2 weeks. I need that right now. That's nice. Yes, as long as I can do diversity work in the company. And they said yes, and I was able to do that, which was great. But then after a while, it was time to go. So I made a 2-year exit plan. I made my exit about 2 months ago, right in the middle of the pandemic, which I did, like, who would have thunk it? And right in the middle of the calls for racial justice everywhere, and particularly in the workplace, which was also like, who would have thought that all of those things would be happening at the same time?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about my business, and I have bigger ideas for things to do as far as the business is concerned, beyond like the coaching, consulting, training stuff that I'm doing now. So I'm excited about that too, working for myself and being able to help make a positive impact for people in the world is
that's good.
my happy place.
So now you're entrepreneur, business woman. What did you dream about doing as a kid?
So when I was like 7, 8, I remember wanting to be, like Whitney Houston. I was just like,
so a singer.
I told you, we were all singing. We were always performing for parents, and like, I was like, this is like performing, being on stage. Yes, like this is it. And then somewhere along the way, I don't really think I had an idea. And then when I was in high school, getting ready, to think about what colleges to apply to and where to go, the question became more pressing. Like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because you have to major in something that will get you there. And I was really stuck, but I had this period of like envisioning homes, and I was like, I'll be an architect. I had a whole like binder where I would draw designs for homes. And I was like, I think I'll be an architect. Like, that sounds good. And I applied to to a program in Cincinnati where we lived at the time. And I was going to go to University of Cincinnati and do that. And then these are the times where I wish my mom was still alive, because I didn't think to ask her how she experienced this like 3 to 4 month period where the plan switched. I don't know how or where it came from, but I learned about an HBCU that was like an hour and a half away from us in Kentucky State University. And we went to go visit, and it was like, yep, I'm gonna go here. Like, UC was nice. This is it. Oh, they don't have an architect major here? That's okay, I'm still gonna go here. So like what I wanted to do wasn't a real thing. It was just like, I'll figure it out as I go. So I decided to major in business because I was always, the checklist person and the planner and the organizer, and I figured if I did business, I could apply it to anything. Like, I had the foresight to understand that everything that's out here has a business component to it. Someone has to, do that for whatever the business is. So yeah. And then my career since then has taken all sorts of twists and turns that,
So have you revisited the whole architecture path or interest? No.
No.
But you don't have a Pinterest account where you're, posting interior designs or like buildings and all that, no?
No, but so my husband is from Ghana, right? And his mom, I don't know if it was a call or a text, but like a couple of years ago, she just said, "Oh yeah, so they were selling some plots of land, and I got you and your wife one."
That's
Just
nice.
saying, here's how much it costs. Like, I was like, what?
That's nice.
And at first I was like, that's wild. Like, why did she do that? But I very quickly came to appreciate it. I was like, this is wonderful. Like, we have land. We've since paid, it was like a couple $100s a month for like like 2 or 3 years. Like, I don't even know, like it was nothing to our budget to pay for it. But now we have it. So I've since transitioned to looking at like, okay, like I'm watching YouTube videos of like builders in Ghana. Like now we get to build something. So I think a lot of that excitement about like what the design will be is connected to, that teenage girl back then who was thinking about like, how would I creatively design a home?
Yeah.
I was designing one for myself. So in that way, I think it's come back, but that's the only way that's come back. Yeah.
Is there something on your bucket list to learn or do?
I have a really high curiosity level for lots more things than I have time for. So what might be something that's not work related, because I've got Post-its everywhere about read this book, watch this documentary. That's not a bucket list though. There's some trips that I want to take. I haven't traveled as much as I would have liked to. So yeah, I recently turned 40 actually, and my family, my husband, my sisters were all like talking about, well, what do you want to do? You want to have a party? You want to do this? This was before COVID-19 hit. And I really didn't have the energy for like a party. I was like, no, I don't think I want to do a party. Like, I don't want that. Like, it's like, I don't even know what this means, but like, and then everybody has to travel and people have to say sorry, but we can't come for a million different reasons. And like, it seemed like it was more stress than enjoyable, right? So I was like, if I really wanted to do something to really mark 40, I would want to do something that's like meaningful, like deeply meaningful and enriching in some way. So the idea that I started to build before it became clear that we weren't going to be able to do it was traveling to 2 or 3 different places over like a couple of weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks over a period of time. And then inviting like close friends and family that may want to come to any of those locations for a few days at a time to come and join us there. Like we're going to be in Greece. That was one of the locations for a week. It would be great to have you if you can come, but if not, like, that's okay. We're still gonna go do Greece. I was thinking about the Seychelles because I want to go there too. That's on the list. I think that's beautiful from all the pictures. I think it's beautiful. There were some other, South Africa was on the list. Never been to South Africa. I'm like, it's time. It's time to go there. So I was gonna do this like 2 or 3 leg, big month-long trip. But it didn't happen. It didn't even get as far as deciding on where to go because it very quickly became clear that nobody was going anywhere. Due to the pandemic. So
so look at it like you have more time to plan. You can really do a deep dive into.
I like that. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to unlearn?
Yeah, there's a lot. So as I've reflected on like decisions that I've made and, legs in my journey of life, I've realized that there are certain sort of like barriers or like mental barriers or rules that I've lived with and just operated within, right? If you think about like, I'm kind of envisioning like those big like Roman pillars, like that you would maybe see on the outside of a large like university institution, like columns, right?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of picturing me in the middle and like, 8 or 10 giant columns all around me. And I've sort of operated within the space as different columns were planted over time. Some of them were planted by my surroundings, my parents, others by me, right? And I've realized like there've been different points along the way where I really literally had to make an intentional decision, like that pillar is no longer serving me, it's actually holding me back. So I need to remove that one, right? Because I've made decisions based on things that I thought had to be one way, and then life happened and I was like, it didn't really have to be that way. I made that up. Like that wasn't, no one forced me to do that, right? So there are different things like that that I'm trying to pay attention to when I'm making a decision or I'm faced with a choice. And I'm like, because my first reaction a lot of the time is no. I'm just like, no, I'm just like, I want to be comfortable. I think it's human, right? But I'm not the like, yes, the year of yes. Shonda Rhimes, I'm the no woman. Like I start with no, and then I got to come up with reasons to say yes.
Yeah.
Like, why would I say yes to anything new, right? And a lot of the reasons I say no are these like mental, pillars that I operate within that I'm learning to uproot some of them. And some of them, I have to Marie Kondo them, right? Like, thank you. You've do you know who I'm talking about? Marie Kondo, she's the organizing lady.
You
and she
served the
talks about,
purpose.
huh?
You tell them thank you, they've served their purpose, but they no longer bring you joy.
But you no longer bring me joy, and it's time to say goodbye. And I'm doing that exercise with like my thinking, and trying to stay doing that.
Yeah, no, that's a big one. I always wonder if there's is it nature and nurture with the environment for the people who like like
we started
don't know, and then there's
Yeah.
people who started yes. And yeah, I don't know. So I'm the starter yes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always, a lot of times I wish that I had the no extreme cynicism mentality, like outlook. But then again, for me, when I think about it, I think how tiring that could be, right? Like if everything I'm looking like is like, no, like why, like I would just be extremely tired. But I'm sure it's the other way as well. Like, so for you, if you look
I'm like, yes, it's tiring.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, it's all a matter. Yeah. So I think, that a lot of that could be temperamental, temperaments. Can you think of any advice that you would give your younger self?
Take your time. Yeah, I think I would tell myself to take time, to not feel like I'm running out of, like, I sort of fed into this, false sense of urgency about so much. That was it's a pillar that had to go. Like, time, like, it's okay to take your time with life. So I would tell myself to do that. I wish I could also go back and tell myself to pay attention to those pillars and really interrogate them, right? Like, where did that one come from? Was that you? Was that your parents? Like, informed by their life experiences and not necessarily the context within which I'm living? And is it relevant for me? If I could go back, I would probably push myself to pay attention to those pillars.
What's the best advice you've received about money?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I can say, it's the, I guess I could call it the best advice. So I was naturally inclined to I bought books about money as soon as I started making money, like real money, as soon as I got my real job post undergrad. I was obsessed with Susie Orman. Like, I watched that show religiously. I knew all the credit card rules and how to, move balances over from one to the other and like your credit and monitoring. Like, I was naturally drawn to having all that knowledge. So I had a lot of the sort of like foundational money lessons, just because I sought out that information myself. And so I was I had my savings and my retirement account. Like, I was intentionally building these things from a young age. I ended up losing it all. That's another story, or most of it.
That's a story we definitely got to get into.
But I started out,
finish what you're saying right now.
I started out good. Yeah, I started out on the right path. But at one point along the way, when I don't even know when it was either in the like phase 1 or phase 2, when I started rebuilding financially again. A friend of mine was getting married in Nigeria, like a best friend, right? Like a inner circle best friend was getting married. And I was like, man, like Susie would say, no, girlfriend, you can't afford this trip. Like, you know, but I wanted to go, and I was struggling with like, how am I going to do this? I'm going to go against every like financial rule by traveling to Nigeria right now. And I was talking to my dad one day, and he didn't even know like all the details behind my decision, but I just kind of mentioned like, yeah, she's getting married and I'm trying to figure out how to make it work. And unsolicited, he said something that's always stuck with me, which is, like, always spend money when it's about like relationships. Like, no matter whatever it is, spend it. Like, it'll come back to you. It doesn't matter. And that was what I needed to hear in that moment to say, yes, I'm going to do this, even though it breaks all the rules. And now that I think about it, even Susie said that, like, people first, then money. I think that's how she closed off her show. Hashtag Susie, girl, if you're out there, biggest fan. Like, I don't know what she's up to these days, but she ended her show with people first, then money, right? And I didn't pay attention to that part. But yeah, my dad was like, when it comes to your loved ones, your family, your close friends, the people that are there for you, like, always figure out a way to be there for them. End of story, right? And that was a good one. That's
what I call a jewel. Yeah. That's a big jewel right there. You should call your dad tomorrow and tell him thanks for that jewel.
Yeah,
that's a reminder. So let's do a deep dive into the story. So what happened?
I got divorced. The divorce happened. So Mike, when we met, I was dating my now ex-husband. So we got married and it didn't work out. But in the journey of like our relationship, we started out really well. We both had we were at the early stages of our career, had my daughter, and we used to do silly things. Like, we were able to save. We were able to start like retirement accounts and all of that. But we would be like on the way to the park with our daughter, and would be like, oh wait, we forgot the pacifier. Instead of going like turning around and going 10 minutes back, we would just be like, oh, we'll buy another one, on the way to the park. Like, and remember, I told you I was very like money and budget conscious. So it wasn't like we couldn't afford to do that. It's just the fact that we actually could do that So like, I felt like we were so good. Like that was one of the things I was like, oh my God, we're starting so young. I have all this knowledge about like savings and money and da da da. And then things happened. We like moved a couple of times. We moved out of state and back to Philadelphia. And we ended up like getting into like all the reasons why the relationship didn't work out. Paying for therapists for part of that process. Like I just looked up and the money was gone. Like there was no real savings left. And then after he like, you know, after we split and he moved, I stayed in the apartment that we were sharing at the time. You know, then like these bills were mine, right? You know, and the credit cards, you know, that we had used for different things were like mostly in my name. So, and he contributed as much as he could. He was actually not able to for some time, but I don't want to get into his business on here because we've come a long way since where we were. But the fact of the matter is that that experience had a financial cost to it as well. And it set me back, right? Because when you're sharing finances, cost, expenses, savings, and all of that with someone else, it's a very different story when it's just you. So being a single mom for those years, definitely like the savings just went. But you know, it's good. All the credit cards are paid off now.
Nice. We're back in the green.
Okay, so we're good.
Nice. I mean, this next question may have a tie-in with what you just talked about, but what's the toughest thing you've had to tackle, and what helped you get through it?
I've had to tackle. Wow. So the divorce is present because we just talked about that. But my mother's passing was also just earth-shattering in some way, in a lot of different ways. Like leading up to it, all the health problems and feeling like a lot of the reasons why she was sick in the first place had to do with the struggle that she had gone through in life that didn't necessarily have to be the case. And that has to do with like her life, but it also had to do with the systemic racism in this country. So I feel like she paid a price health-wise for staying here in the US with us kids because she did it for us, right? There was a time there where my dad was actually back in Nigeria and she was here, and everybody, her siblings, my aunts and uncles were like, why are you there? Come back home. Like you could be good here. But you know, they made the choice to stay here for us so that we could continue our schooling. And there was a lot of disruption in education at the time in Nigeria. So, you know, she was a master's degree holder, like barely getting by. And she got that degree from the United States. And still it was like she was invisible, you know? So I think that ultimately led to the health problems that she had. And then she ended up in the hospital and passed away. So that was a hard time. And I think what helped me get through it was family, you know, because at the end of the day, I mean, the family also made it hard, to be honest. They say that family members just act out for weddings and funerals, I think are the two things. So there's definitely an angle of that played out. But still, even with that, it was like family was still my saving grace. Yeah. In many cases, the same family member. That was both oh my God, like they did what? Were also the ones that were like, it's okay. Like, I mean, we love you. Come on, like we good. But you know, again, it's like, we're human and everybody's reacting, you know, based on their stuff and trying to get through it, right? So we bump into each other as we're trying to do that. And I think that's the same with my divorce as well. Was my sister actually moved in with me to help, to both help share expenses and things like that, but also to actually help me with my daughter. So every time I look around, it's really been family. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, there's so much to say about that. That I can't even. Uh, I'm not even gonna do it justice by adding anything to it in this interview. But yeah, I mean, family is key in so many aspects of our lives, especially during the tough times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that now that I'm, a woman of a certain age, um, I'm a very reflective person, right? So I try to remember that I'm old now. And so so I say that, like, I need to be mindful of how I interact with people, and the impact that I might be having on people by the things I do or say, right? Because yeah.
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 Where do you feel most at home and happy?
I answered this question explicitly for myself, like in my 20s, and it was in Nigeria. It was a question like on what continent and in what country, and I journaled about it. Like, it was a very pivotal moment for me because I'm a hybrid. My life story is my parents had me when they were in the U.S. in undergrad, no, in graduate school. We moved back to Nigeria when I was 2 years old, and then we moved back to the US when I was 10. So I was shaped, my childhood happened in both places, and I was shaped by it. So I'm really a combination of both. And I've learned since, I learned recently that's like some psychologists study refer to that as being a third culture kid, which means that when you have those sort of hybrid experiences and identities, you don't really feel like you belong in any one place. And that resonated so much for me. I was like, oh my God, like, this is the story of my life. Like, I don't feel completely American, because I'm not, but I'm not also completely Nigerian because I didn't grow up there my entire childhood, right? So I was on a trip for something. I end up in Nigeria mostly for like weddings and funerals, like big events. And I think I was on the plane coming back. And I always experience this whenever I'm there, or we've, travels to Ghana when we're coming back. Like, there is a psychological, soul level, like, transformation, like a shift that happens somewhere over the Atlantic, right? Coming back. Actually, I don't even think it happens because I usually connect in London at Heathrow.
Yeah.
It happens when I'm leaving Nigeria or Ghana. We get to Heathrow for the layover, and like, oh, okay, like, I'm back in white dominant space again. I got to put my armor back on, my emotional armor, like, I'm aware of it. Like, it's something. It's something, and it's so deep. Like that happens, but it happens every time. So that's when it hits me, when I'm in Heathrow and I get on the plane, and even like the makeup of the people on the plane itself is shifted and changed, and then you get back to the US and it's like, okay, here we go again. I keep my, Niger glow for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks if I'm lucky, and then I'm back. I'm back here again. So on one of those trips, I was like, okay, so I'm a hybrid, yeah, but where do I feel most at home and comfortable? Yeah. And it was there. It was at the end of the day, like, it's there, even though there's so much that I don't know, and I can't move around Nigeria. I mean, I could move around Nigeria by myself, but I would feel like anxious, like, where should I go, and where, like, I would have notes from family before I would do that, right? Like, Because I don't move, I haven't moved around Nigeria by myself. Like so yeah, while there's still all these parts of my experience there that I feel like only happens because I'm with my family and friends that are based there, I still feel like at the end of the day, I'm more at home there than here when I really think about it. So.
Yep. Home is where the heart is. What do you admire? Oh, actually, what character traits or qualities do you admire in other people?
Oh man, I think I really admire when people are, I admire it and I envy it, I think too. When people are really aligned, like they can be themselves and authentic to who they are no matter where they are. Part of, I think, a side effect of growing up in different countries, but also before I went to college, being immersed in different cultures, you know, like along lines of race and ethnicity, but also like class differences with family and family friends. You know, I was like the queen of code switching, right? Like, boop, 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 I'm here, this is the part of me that you get. I'm here, this is the part of me that you get. And so I envy people that are able to just be their full self, no matter where they are. And so I'm trying to do that more and more, you know, like part of the decision to quit my corporate job and return to my passion and doing this consulting work. That was part of the decision, is I want to be aligned, like the things that I'm passionate about after the workday, I want to be passionate about that with my whole workday, not just my volunteer projects at work. Like I want to do this all the time. So
Yeah.
I admire that.
And then what character traits or red flags that you try to stay away from?
I hate liars. It's funny because I was talking to my daughter. Well, my daughter and I were recording our podcast, and we have an episode about like punishment, like the punishments that she's had over the years, and her feelings about some of them, and my feelings about some of them. And we talked about like a rule, I guess, a value that I've raised her with, which is whatever it is that you did, don't make it worse by lying about it. Like, whatever reason you don't want to tell me, whatever it is, it's that thing is going to be like 10 times worse if on top of the thing that you did, you then were dishonest about whatever it is. So there's something about dishonesty that just like what kind of person are you if you're not honest? Like if you like lying?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And do you know in the moment when someone's lying to you?
No, not always.
Okay.
Not always, no. Eddie's better at it. Sometimes, yeah, I think he's better at reading people than I am, for sure. Because sometimes we're like in a situation together and he's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, really? I didn't see that at all. Oh. You know, so he, yeah.
Okay. All right. For a fun question, if you won the lottery tomorrow, what will you do?
Wow. Well, it depends on how much I won.
So you took home 300 million US dollars.
US. 300 US. Okay. That was After taxes?
Yeah. That's what you took home.
I'm like, hold on.
That's what you took home. You took home 300 million.
0,
300.
0, 0, 0, 0.
Yeah.
Wow. So I don't know how the split would go, but I would definitely um, support. I had a long career in nonprofit work, so I would definitely give some money to organizations that I feel like are doing strong work, and I would want to do it in a sustainable way. Like, yeah, like just if you have the means to just give somebody, you know, thousands of dollars at once, that's great. But what if it was like in an endowment or something that's going to grow and continue to like give money to that organization over time to help people, you know, in different places, right? So I want to do that. One of the dreams that I have, and my sisters actually share, is my mom had a dream of doing some sort of charitable work in Nigeria for women. And so if I got a lot of money, I would figure out a way, I would make that happen. I would take care of some family members for sure. I probably would start some sort of like family foundation or something. I don't know what the right vehicle is, just to be able to support family members who need help. Because one of the differences in my, like, one of the things that I've experienced is I have family members who are both very like wealthy and well-to-do, and family members who would probably be the folks on the commercials, you know, with like the crying children saying, send 5 cents a day to feed this child. So that's hard. Like that's a hard place to sit sometimes, especially when I'm there and the two sides meet, like it can be very awkward. So if I came into a lot of money like that, I would try to figure out, again, a sustainable way to be able to help my family that doesn't have that infrastructure and support, to be able to like really change the generations on that side. So those are the things that I would do to like give back and support. And I'm like, I would probably do things like, you know, take those trips and I find that my money spend is not on material things as much as it's like, I don't have bags and shoes and all those kinds of things that people spend money on. But I spend money on convenience. Like I like things just being handed to me. Like that's how my bougie shows up, is like, just give me some options and then I'll tell you what I want to eat and then you bring it to me and it shows up. Thank you. Like, yes. I don't have to have a pair of, you know, Louboutins or Gucci, anything. That doesn't really mean anything to me, but I want service, you know, I want convenience, and I want it at a certain level or there's a problem, right? So I would spend money on that, whatever that looks like for me in the moment, for sure.
Nice, that's a good one.
And I might buy my husband a soccer team or something, because
Oh wow,
that would make his world.
what team?
I don't even know if $300 million could buy anything. And
I mean, it depends. What
I don't know how much soccer teams cost.
They cost a lot more than 300 million. a lot more, but you know, he can work his way up. You know, you can buy something in the lower division, and then
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll buy him like dinner with some Liverpool players or something. You know? Or like a day announcing for the match or something like that. His team is Liverpool.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, they won the league this year too, so it's good times.
I know. That's good. Liverpool. Nice. All right, you're a parent. You guys are parents. What values are you hoping to imprint on your child?
We talk to her a lot about being kind to others. Like, even if you don't want to be friends with someone, like even if that's not your kind of person to hang out with, even if you don't like the person, you can still be kind, right? So we talk a lot about just the value of kindness. We talk a lot about empathy, and it's the same sort of conversation about you may not understand what that other person's perspective is. You may not completely agree with their choices, but there's a reason why people do the things that they do. So like there's an element of empathy that I think people should have, like as a baseline. So we try to instill values of kindness and empathy, and definitely like being like spiritually grounded and tuned in, and also understanding that that looks different for people of different faiths and religions and things like that. So we're trying to instill that in her without all the baggage that we got growing up in our faith. I could probably keep going. Those are the first three.
Yeah, those are
that
great.
come to mind.
Is there anyone that you would like to thank or express your appreciation for that you haven't had the chance to yet?
I think there's probably a lot of people. So I will randomly have thoughts like, man, I wonder how that person is doing. Like I should send him a note, or I'll remember something, some interaction that we had, but it just stays in my head. I appreciate them in my head, right? And I keep going. And from small things to big things, right? Like, yeah. So I think there are a lot of people from like different parts of life that come up, in memory, and I'm like, oh, like I really appreciated this thing about that person.
Do you want to name any one of them?
I'd probably feel really bad if I name some and don't name others.
Well, you could look at it this way: if you name some now, right, this is one opportunity, and then you have other opportunities. There's a part 2 to this that we're gonna do in the future. You have another podcast that you can get into. So there's more opportunities to keep naming people. The point of let me tell you why I even have this as a question is because for what you just noted, which is that what I find is that it happens every single day, right? Somebody passes away, and then all of a sudden, everyone, this person, the way they used to cook, there's a smell.
Yeah.
They will always smile, and it will make my day, etc., right? So, and then part of the narrative that occurs when someone passes is that everyone says, "Oh, we should give people their flowers while they can smell them."
Yeah.
And that always strikes me because right after someone says that, right? So like everybody says that, but there's this vacuum of actually doing exactly that, right?
Yeah.
Because the reality is we know that throughout our life, you can just every month or every year, there are people that are constantly having impact on us.
Yep.
And it would be great if we got in the practice of acknowledging those people, right? Before we started this, when you said something that I said to you 10, 15 years ago, like how that has stuck with you, et cetera. Like, so, like even something like all those things. Constant.
Those are the kind of things that I walk around with in my head.
Right. And so, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to encourage people to start getting in the habit of, acknowledging people and just, and saying thanks, and, you appreciate their, the way they greet, the way they always have a smile when they talk to you.
Yeah.
whatever it is. So that's the genesis of this question.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's making me think about like how I can incorporate it as a practice so that when I do get that feeling, I don't double, because I'll overthink it and go, that'd be weird. They just get a random Facebook message from you or a random text, you
Yeah,
know,
just text them.
and I'm like, no, that's weird. They don't want to, you know, like I just need to just do it. Like, hey,
Just do
you
it.
know, you just popped into mine. Hope you're doing good. I remember, like, this is good.
Exactly. Like literally, like I'm famous for that. And
Really?
yeah, people always say,
Wow.
you know, like Reese faces will always say that, you know, I'm great at, you know, keeping ties with people, etc. But part of it is just that instead of overthinking it, I just act on it, right? So like literally, if somebody comes to mind or whatever it is, and I would literally just text them or whatever it is, and so, you know, for me, I've done the act, right? Regardless if they, you know, because I think for some people it's the fear that this person would view them a certain way or may not.
Yeah. How will it be
You know?
received?
Yeah, exactly. Whatever it is. I'm not concerned with like that. That's not, you know, that's not for me. That's like, you know, whatever. I did my work.
That's your stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like, so I did my part, and then yeah. So I encourage people to just do it. Just get it out there.
That's good. I'm gonna do that. Well, in the meantime, I just thought about somebody that I do want to thank.
Do that.
And I actually have something that I brought to show. I've had this for 20 years, and I remember when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I really like that. That's me. I'm glad. So I want to show this to you. Is it?
That is crazy. Wow.
I still have this shirt. Yo, check it out.
That is amazing. That's amazing.
Never been able. I was like, I don't know, Marie Kondo. This still gives me joy. I'm keeping it.
That is amazing. Wow. See, yeah, I mean, no, that's good. That's good stuff. I mean, I don't even know how to come back from that, I guess.
So everybody's probably like, what is this? So
yeah. No.
I don't know. Might you want to tell them where that shirt came from?
Yeah. So what you just showed was one of our flagship products for Bean, a clothing company that we started. My partner and I started. Like you said, over 20 years ago, and it, you know, it was focused on heritage pieces, and really we made statement pieces essentially, and those pieces have, it's crazy. I mean, just like kind of like what you just did. People would send me pictures of them now with these. I mean, if you could even imagine in this climate, right? Like it's even with those shirts. I mean, it just, you know, like it's amazing because it, you know, it's the joy that that people have. It's almost like, you know, like great albums or the way like our parents would talk about, you know, when Sade did this or Bob Marley did this, etc. Like because, you know, they're conversational pieces, right? Like if you wear, you know, our shirts to a cookout, or a lot of times people used to send me pictures with them in the airport, you know, and send me these crazy stories about how, like, you know, somebody saw them at the airport and tried to buy it off their back, or back home. You know, it's like, it's just crazy. Actually, last weekend I was on a call with someone, and he was telling me how he was in Burundi, and he had one of our shirts on, and his cousin literally told him that you're not leaving with that shirt.
Wow.
Like, it wasn't even an option, you know, like it was like, you're not leaving with that shirt. And so he was asking me to, you know, to redo it and stuff. But yeah, no, so yeah, Bean is it really is.
It's relevant because it came from a real place. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And 20 years later, it's still relevant. Like, there's so many people making t-shirts now. It's like everybody's making t-shirts.
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody's got, you know, things, but
No, that's
y'all been there.
yes.
20 years plus.
That's crazy. That's crazy. All right. So for our final question, how do you define success?
Mm. I'm thinking about like my superficial answer and my like, I'm gonna give you both.
Okay.
So, and they meet somewhere in the middle for to make meaning. So, I don't define success in terms of money, but I do want enough money to be able to buy convenience, like I talked about earlier.
Yep.
So that's very real, and I can't act like it's not. But on the like more meaningful side, I am finding, you know, especially now that I've stepped out of corporate and workplaces where I work for like explicitly for other people. I am finding that being able to operate from a place of love for humanity, being like tapped into spirit, you know, like just all the time, you know, like just being spiritually grounded. So being able to move with love and spirit and in truth, which is kind of speaking to that like honesty and authenticity and alignment in all parts of my life. Like that is what I feel like more than ever before, I'm positioned to actually be able to do that now. And that plus having enough coin to, you know, pay for convenience altogether, for me is success and happiness.
Nice. That's a great way to end. It's been a pleasure. We connected, we politic, and we would definitely do this again in the near future.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Thanks.